This might be the end, boys, the end of gaming itself. I know it sounds dramatic, but what we've been seeing globally has kind of suggested that. You just have to look at what's happening right now in 2025. Gaming is under siege, from strict new UK laws forcing internet ID checks and content lockdowns to payment giants like Visa and MasterCard pulling the strings on what games you can even buy, and activist groups like Collective Shout pushing their agenda along with Sweet Baby Inc., getting their ideas to be the focus of gaming as a whole. So much levers of censorship are being pulled right now, it feels like gaming is being squeezed and all of its fun is being pushed aside for more claims of what is good and righteous for the people that want to rule over gamers. And I think this is a thing that we keep seeing as gamers these past few years, a dedication to censoring ideas. And I think the ideas that we're seeing being pushed right now just simply are not fun to put into a video game. And I think that is the end result of all the laws being pushed upon us. Gaming is getting hit hard right now. How are we as gamers supposed to fight back and survive against this global censorship order being established in front of us? But first up, let's talk about the elephant in the room, UK's Online Safety Act, which fully kicked in earlier this year on March 17th, 2025, and ramped up child protection duties starting July 25th, just this past Friday, is basically government's big swing at protecting the internet. It's aimed at making platforms remove illegal content like hate speech and child exploitation material, but it goes way further than that, requiring age verification, content filtering, and even risk assessments for harmful but legal stuff. For gamers, this means potential ID checks to access online multiplayer games, forums, or even game stores. Websites and apps now have to verify ages to block kids from harmful content, which sounds good on paper, but in practice, it's leading to massive overreach. Wikipedia is fighting a legal battle against them right now to get over these hurdles. And of course, after all of this great news, Proton VPN saw a 1,400% surge in UK signups right after the act took in effect, because people are scrambling to bypass these restrictions. But the thing is, you have to know about the laws being implemented in the UK. It didn't start in the UK, and many of the ideas are still flourishing across the world and across the pond. I'm talking about Australia, which already has a face, age, and ID checks on their internet. Australia fundamentally changed their whole entire system to the UK system way before the UK. And this is something that is trying to be implemented in Canada, the rest of the European Union. This is an idea that just didn't pop out of UK's parliament. No, this is an agenda that is being set globally that wants to be pushed all across the Western world, specifically these Western nations. And if you look at all Western nations, the most prominent one is America. And I think this is the thing that we're seeing now. Everyone is being eaten up by this monster known as censorship, and it's coming from all ends of the spectrum. And we can see this happening on the money side as well, because if you control the payments, you control the game. So Visa and MasterCard have been flexing hard this year, pressuring platforms like Steam and itch.io to ban and delist certain kinds of adult content. Steam updated its guidelines in 2025, straight up saying that games violating payment processor rules are out. We're talking about hundreds of titles, erase mostly adult games, spilling over into anything objectionable. Itch.io, the indie haven, just de-indexed over 17,000 NSFW games under this pressure, catching many award-winning indie titles that have suggestive content by surprise. And these processors' claims is about rules and standards. Critics say it's about moral policing, and I think that's the thing that people have been saying about this situation. Visa and MasterCard are delisting these titles because they have their own strategy of censorship that they want to impose on the gaming community. And it's coming to fruition with all these activist organizations coming together and giving the incentive for these larger organizations. That's why they're now banning these games that are kind of similar to novels, because they have their own stories that they're telling. And the banning of games is a similar way of banning literature. And it's this old-fashioned way of controlling the information that comes out there, the experiences people have that may change them. That is a way of limiting their broader scope of experience. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing, where gamers are being put in a tight position where this monopoly is showing its power, and it's scary, where we have Valve confirming they bowed under pressure, and now devs are scrambling to find a way out of this situation. And it goes back to these smaller activist organizations Collective Shout and Sweet Baby Inc., who are churning up the heat on gaming. Collective Shout, an Australian anti-sexploitation group, has been campaigning against objectification in games for years. They targeted payment processors, claiming victory for Steam's new rules of pressuring Visa and MasterCard to cut off explicit content. And they really won. I think that's the thing that us as gamers have to look at, accept that they have been claiming victory because they have been winning. Their latest wins include getting itch.io to hide NSFW games. That's what happened with Steam. That's what they claim they want to do with future characters like Lara Croft. And they just have 10 employees, and they challenge so much of the gaming order to change, and we're seeing the gaming industry change because of them. And then you have Sweet Baby Inc., the DEI consultancy, pushing progressive narratives and censorship in gaming. And we already saw their successes where they effectively destroyed multiple developers putting out trash content to be in line with their personal politics. And this is the broader issue that we're seeing. These organizations are winning, and they have the backing and support of governmental entities. We saw some of the information come out saying Sweet Baby Inc. gets government support from Canada. We see information where Collective Shout gets support from the Australian government. You have government officials from the Australian government working within their organization. It just shows that these are united fronts of censorship, where they're working hand in hand with corporations to limit what we can see. And I think that's the thing that we have to understand about the current situation. It's a full-on assault. And if you don't wake up quick and realize you're being assaulted by these large organizations working in tandem, everything is going to be censored eventually. And that's why I say this is the most dangerous moment in gaming right now, where everything is coming together to close in on the gaming audience, trying to close the apparatus, the distribution channels, payment processors. And that's why the horror of gaming ending is a real thing. It's a real thing to consider, where gaming may not be the thing that we see it today. And what we see today is a diminished version of gaming, because we do have all the influences of the past censorships kind of hitting us equally at the same time. And I think that is the thing that gamers are now understanding. They're in a horror game. This is a horrible situation for gamers, where gaming can deteriorate. And I think this is similar to what Elon Musk said about space travel before he started SpaceX, where he said, oh, we could probably just stop going to space because technological development is not linear. It doesn't just keep going up. No, it can go down and it can just evaporate and disappear. And I think that's the thing you have to realize about gaming. Good gaming could evaporate and disappear. And I think that's the thing gamers have to keep in mind. And to fight back against this, the most obvious thing is VPNs. But you have to realize VPNs may be under the same scrutiny of payment processors as video games are. So that's the thing I have hesitancy about VPNs. VPNs are the best solution, but the second solution, voting and petitions. You may have to go out there and change the governmental entities out there. And I think that is a strong case of things we should do to change the situation. Of course, if that doesn't work, we have to dip into different ways and modes of paying for our video games. Hopefully X Payments comes out from Elon Musk. Hopefully we get alternative crypto payment systems. That is the new market that we're seeing burgeon and grow. That's the thing we can focus on. And I think that is the thing that we have to see to the end. We have to look for different solutions, because the solutions are not coming, only the censorship right now. So we got to get those solutions. But this is just my thoughts on the situation. Maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you don't think gaming is a horror show about to end in a terrible fashion, but I think there's a possibility things can end. Good gaming could go away forever. We could be left in this horrible world where we're playing Sweet Baby Inc. Wonder about a diverse group of non-binary children trying to escape Rainbow Mountain. That is a distinct possibility, and I don't want that horror show on my mind. But that is just my thoughts on the situation. We need to do something about this censorship laws taking over. And hopefully everyone out there is going to do something. And I'm going to try my best to do something. Hopefully you guys try your best. But that's all I have to say. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.